Namaste, angels. This is the weekly general reading for the period of today, Sunday, April 19th, through Saturday to come, which is April 25th. We're going to begin with the Christian calendar this week. And today, actually, today is the Feast of Divine Mercy. It's also the day 8 of the octave of Easter. Remember, I mentioned last week that Easter continues through the week. So before I get any further into this, I just want to say I'm fine. To everybody who's asked, wondered, I'm fine. Yes, I do live in New York, and we are still we do still have the highest level of COVID cases in the country, possibly still the world. I haven't heard the latest stat on that yet. But the last I heard, we had the greatest number of cases in the world also. I spoke a lot about that last week and what I felt about that in relation to the prophecies and the scriptures and the fact that New York is the 11th state that joined the Union back in the 1700s. So anybody who missed that should definitely check it out, last week's general reading. But I am here. I'm well. I appreciate you guys asking, wondering. I have tons to do. Probably the most readings, healings, all of that I've ever had to do, at least in relation to the amount of time I have. So it's possible that I've had, far more orders in the past. And I think that that's probably actually true. But the difficulty that's occurring now, and what has caused me to fall behind, whereas I used to be able to manage the time, no matter how many orders I got, I could figure it all out what I was going to do, is that it's all that is out of my hand. Like the time management part is out of my hands. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. I do have a family. I do have children. They're not small children, but there's other family members in my house. So not only do we have to practice social distancing in general, like if we go outside and stuff, you need time apart from these family members that you're stuck with all the time. So, I got to give everybody their space. I can't just be, taking up all the space and the time, and I got to spend time with my family, right? That's important too. So I can't just be doing videos or healings or any of the other stuff that I do, all the time. And then when we go to the store or something, God forbid we need supplies. Like today I went to Costco. It wasn't as bad as it has been on other occasions that I've gone. But these lines that are potentially like for blocks, and a New York block is big. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but a New York block is pretty big. And some of these lines go on for blocks with people separated, 6 feet apart, tape on the ground and stuff like that. And then by the time you actually get past the line, get inside, do your shopping, get home, unpack, I've lost potentially a day, not just me, everybody who's dealing with that. So it disables me from being able to plan my day. Like I'm going to do this at this time and that at that time, which is what I used to do. Or it's going to take me, an hour to go to the grocery store. It's going to take me 2 hours to go to the grocery store. So I'll block that out and the rest of the day is for this. I can't do any of that. So it's all become very random. So I do owe some of you some stuff. Hopefully tonight I'll be able to get that to you. If not tonight, tomorrow or the very, very near future. And for others of you, I'm not trying to talk you out of ordering anything. Like I said, I'm not complaining. I do appreciate it. And not only do I appreciate it, I'm happy for the people who are doing it. I'm happy that people are, looking for healing. I'm happy that people are seeking accurate readings, for their own health. So that puts a smile on my face. And it would, even if it weren't me that were doing it, if it were somebody else, that I trusted that were doing it, it puts a smile on my face, just the fact that, people are looking to improve themselves and taking advantage of the times and paying attention to what's going on. And to the fact that, again, some of these prophecies are playing out. Some of this stuff in the scriptures is playing out, and we need to do what we need to do. We need to, be in place. All right. That said, I hope all of you are well as well. That the the angel passed over you last week, Feast of Passover, Feast of Easter. You were inside your home, or you were, if you're an essential worker, you were outside, doing your best to follow the guidelines. And therefore, because you were doing what you were meant to do and serving your purpose, the angel passed right on over you and went on to somebody that wasn't. That is my hope and my prayer. All right, so let's get back to this. So again, today is the Feast of Divine Mercy, and I'll explain a little bit about what that is. And the last day for which this reading, so it's like bookends. The first day and the last day are the days that we have these feast days. The last day is the feast of Saint Mark the Evangelist, or the Apostle, as well as the feast of Our Lady of the Valley. So first, we'll jump right into the Feast of Divine Mercy. For that, I've just gone to wikipedia.org. Divine Mercy Sunday, also known as the Feast of Divine Mercy, is celebrated on the Sunday after Easter, the octave day of Easter. The feast day is observed by Roman Catholics as well as Anglicans. It originally was based on the Catholic devotion to the Divine Mercy that Faustina Kowalska reported as part of her encounter with Jesus. So this woman is recognized as having had an apparition of Jesus. The church recognizes her, right? She had an encounter with Jesus, and it's associated with special promises from Jesus and indulgences issued by the Catholic Church, right? So she said, Jesus said to do this, and the church believed her, and so they implemented it. The Feast of Divine Mercy, according to the diary of Kowalska, receives from Jesus the biggest promises of grace related to the devotion of divine mercy. In particular, that a person who goes to sacramental confession, which is the confession that may take place some days before or after Holy Communion, but you receive Holy Communion on that day that you have the confession, that you shall obtain total forgiveness of all sins and punishment. That means each person would go immediately after death to heaven without suffering in purgatory or hell. Okay, that's the belief. Additionally, the Roman Catholic Church grants a plenary indulgence, which means observing the usual rules, with the recitation of some simple prayers. So for those of you who are familiar with confession, if you are Anglican or you are Catholic, you're familiar with this process. You go to confession, the priest tells you, say, an Our Father, a Hail Mary, and an act of contrition, right, off the top of my head. And then you go do that, and it's believed that after you do that, and then you go get your Holy Communion, everything is fine. All those sins that you confessed are forgiven. And so that's from where last rites come, right? So you can do that if you are believed to be dying. You do that so that you don't have to go to purgatory, because that's what Catholics and Anglicans believe happens to you if you die with these, what would be called venial sins on your soul. If you die with mortal sins, what they call mortal sins on your soul, the belief is that you go to hell. So now I'm just talking to you off the top of my head. This is not coming from Wikipedia. It is from memory. Many, many years of Catholic school, and the fact that I almost became a nun at the age of 12. But that's another story. Let's move on. So now we'll go to St. Mark, right? And for St. Mark, I've gone to www.franciscanmedia.org. For those of you who want to read it on your own, follow along, that sort of thing. Most of what we know about Mark comes directly from the New Testament. He's usually identified with Mark of Acts 12:12. And I know a guy named Mark, the short version of his name is Mark. And he would always see the 12:12. And I told him it was like the apostle. I think he thought I was crazy. In any case, when St. Peter escaped from prison, he went to the home of Mark's mother. Paul and Barnabas took him along on the first missionary journey. But for some reason, Mark returned alone to Jerusalem. It's evident from Paul's refusal to let Mark accompany him on the second journey, despite Barnabas' insistence, that Mark had displeased Paul. Because Paul later asked Mark to visit him in prison, we may assume the trouble did not last long. So they had a little falling out they made up. The oldest and the shortest of the four Gospels, the Gospel of Mark, emphasizes Jesus' rejection by humanity while being God's triumphant envoy. Probably written for Gentile converts in Rome after the death of Peter and Paul, sometime between AD 60 and 70. Mark's gospel is the gradual manifestation of a quote-unquote scandal, a crucified Messiah. Evidently a friend of Mark, calling him quote-unquote my son, Peter, is only one of the gospel sources, others being the church in Jerusalem, or in parentheses they have Jewish roots, and the church at Antioch, which was largely Gentile. Like another gospel writer, Luke, Mark was not one of the 12 apostles. We cannot be certain whether he knew Jesus personally. Some scholars feel that the evangelist is speaking of himself when describing the arrest of Jesus at Gethsemane. Quote, "Now a young man followed him, wearing nothing but a linen cloth about his body. They seized him, but he left the cloth behind, and ran off naked," end quote. Mark 14:51 through 52. Others hold Mark to be the first bishop of Alexandria, Egypt. Venice, famous for the Piazza San Marco, claims that Mark is its patron saint. The large basilica there is believed to contain his remains. A winged lion is Mark's symbol. The lion derives from Mark's description of John the Baptist as a, quote, voice of one crying out in the desert, end quote, Mark 1:3, which artists compared to a roaring lion. The wings come from the application of Ezekiel's vision of 4 winged creatures to the evangelists. Mark fulfilled in his life what every Christian is called to do: proclaim to all people the good news. That is the source of salvation. In particular, Mark's way was by writing. Others may proclaim the good news by music, drama, poetry, or by teaching children around a family table. Saint Mark is the patron saint of notaries. That's interesting, right? So it also said here that he was not an apostle, and that is actually debatable. Most of us have learned about 12 apostles. There's actually someone that's called the 13th apostle, and that would be Saint Matthias. And people have counted it through the scriptures as many as 25 apostles. 24 is a more popular number. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you guys can look all that up because, again, that's off the top of my head too. That it's argued how many apostles there actually were, and you can typically agree. Most people, some are sticklers, so they won't acquiesce. But for the most part, people can agree that books have been removed from the Bible, so it doesn't flow the way it was originally meant anymore, and sometimes just flat out doesn't make any sense. So there's that. All right. So moving on, the Hebrew calendar. There is nothing that we're going to talk about this week, but the Islamic calendar. Yes. Oops, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I forgot about the Feast of Our Lady of the Valley, which is the same day, Saturday the 25th, as the feast day of St. Mark. So let's get into that one. For this, I've gone to Roman-Catholic-saints.com/our-lady-of-the-valley. Our Lady of the Valley. The Sicilian shrine to Our Lady of the Valley, or of the Green Valley, or Our Lady of Valverde, verde meaning green and Valverde, meaning green in Italian, but verde meaning green in Spanish, is said to have originated about the year 1040. According to tradition, a soldier named Dionysius, isn't this interesting, right? Getting sort of mixing in the Greek mythology with this. Well, Dionysius is the god of wine, right, in Greek mythology. Anyway, more stuff off the top of my head, more random information that's stored in there. This guy, Dionysius, remained behind on the island of Sicily to engage in banditry, having been enticed by the wealth on the island and his greed for the money that he felt he could easily steal from others. Assault, theft, and murder meant nothing to him, Dionysius found a cave in which to hide, and he then lurked in the shadows of the thick woods along a path that led from Catania to Assi. I'm pronouncing this place Assi. It's spelled A-C-I. So, Assi, Aki, I don't know. Dionysius was so active that this region near Mount Etna, E-T-N-A, soon became infamous as the scene of robberies, violence, and even murder. At that time, there was a certain man named Giles, G-I-L-E-S, who lived in the city of Catania, C-A-T-A-N-I-A. In the course of business, it became necessary for him to make the dangerous trip to Assi. Now, while Giles was aware of the danger, he was a pious man, which means he was very reverent of God, who was greatly devoted to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And he was absolutely convinced that she would watch out over him on his journey. As Giles passed through the wood beneath Mount Etna, which is actually a volcano, a bandit barred his way and threatened his life with a dagger. Suddenly, the earth shook violently, and a globe of blinding light appeared nearby. From within the light, a woman's voice could be heard. Dionysius, Dionysius, do not touch my devotee. The assassin's arm was frozen by the command. He turned and looked around at the light. Lay down that weapon and cease this life of banditry. At these words, Dionysius saw in a flash the monstrosity of what he had been his entire life passing before his eyes. Throwing away his knife, he humbly acknowledged the errors of his former life and prostrated himself at the feet of his intended victim, begging his forgiveness. Dionysius retreated alone to his cave to weep over his sins. Knowing his sincerity, the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared to him where he lived to comfort him. She urged him to trust in the goodness and mercy of God and to go at once to confession. So isn't this funny how, we talked about the beginning of the week, we have the feast that recognizes confession. At the end of the week, we have an apparition of Mary where she encourages someone to go to confession. She also requested that a church be built on the hill of Valverde with the wealth Dionysius had obtained through his life of crime. Within a few days, word got out about what had happened, and the faithful from Assi processed to the hill. I think they mean proceeded to the hill of Valverde. Once on the hill, they observed a noisy flock of cranes hovering in the sky before landing on a particular clearing nearby. Taking it as a sign, the bandit turned hermit began the work of constructing the chapel on that very spot. Although he began working immediately and with impressive fervor, progress soon came to a halt due to the lack of water supply. Dionysius turned in prayer to the Virgin Mary, who once again appeared to order that pickaxe be used to strike at the base of a rock forming the entrance to the bandit's cave. The result of the blow was a trickle of water that formed a pool sufficient not only for the continuation of the work, but also proved to be miraculous, as it soon became a source of healing for many of the sick who came and drank there. So many people came to assist that the work that had begun in the year 1038, or 111, was finished only 2 years later. Dionysius kept in the faith and continued to live on Valverde as a hermit. One night, he was wrapped in prayer when he was struck by an intense beam of light and saw a cloud in which the Madonna appeared, surrounded by heavenly angels. The light dispersed as the cloud rose toward heaven, revealing a magnificent image of the Blessed Virgin and her divine Son imprinted on the rough wall of a pillar of the church. The image, now known as Our Lady of the Valley, depicts the Virgin Mary seated and wearing a robe with gold accents. Her head is covered with a veil. And although Mary's hair can be seen framing her face, with her right hand she holds the divine child, who is seated upon a red and gold cushion. He has curly hair and is dressed in a white tunic. His right hand is raised in blessing, while the other rests upon a small crane that seems to hide behind the Virgin's left hand. In the year 1565, a group of Christian soldiers stopped here to invoke the aid of Our Lady of the Valley while on their way to the island of Malta. Suleiman the Magnificent was about to lay siege to the island fortress with countless thousands of his finest warriors, while only 600 knights, there's your 6 for Mary, also the year 1565, or like 611, 600 knights of St. John would stand against them to defend the stronghold. These Christian soldiers were the same who would later operate the cannon that fired the round that mortally wounded the infamous pirate commander Dragut Rais. Dragut Rais is his name. 2 separate words, just in case my New York accent is just totally ruining what it's supposed to be. I'm spelling it for you guys. You can look it up yourself. A votive offering of 2 iron cannonballs now hang to the left of the altar as testimony and thanksgiving for the assistance of the Mother of God during that siege. The Feast of Our Lady of the Valley is kept throughout 3 dioceses of Sicily. And they end it there, which is kind of weird. So I guess she's recognized throughout Sicily. All right, so now we can move on to the Muslim calendar. And here we have 2 holidays midweek. On Tuesday, the 21st, Laylat al-Bara'ah, and on Wednesday, the April 22nd, Ramadan. So the reason I'm so hype about the Muslim holidays or Islamic holidays this week is that in past years, I've told you guys that some recognize Muhammad's birthday as being April 22nd. So I thought it was pretty interesting that this year, in alignment with some of the other prophecies that have come to pass, that his birthday would actually fall, or one of the dates recognized as his birthday. As we know, his birthday is more traditionally celebrated in November. I think, remembering 2 Novembers ago, it was 2 or 3. It was celebrated 11/11, and then 11/19, which was really special for us. Those of you who my little community, and then this year I think his birthday is going to be celebrated November 9th. However, again, it is also recognized by many as being April 22nd, the year 571. So 571 equals 13 or 4 or 11/11 or 22, as does this year, right? 2020 is also 22 or 13 or 4 or 11/11. So I just think it's pretty interesting that his birthday is falling on the first day of Ramadan. Let's get further into it. And also, while I'm on this little roll, and getting ahead of myself, I'll just tell you that the next one, Laylat al-Qadr, falls on May 19th, which is Malcolm X's birthday. And, I have a long time ago a video where I had literally done the math. I spent the day doing the math to calculate my belief that Malcolm X is the one in the Bible known as the one who would be murdered before his work was finished. So I'm getting into a whole other thing, and I'll stop there, and we'll learn about what Ramadan is. But I'm happy to sort of get back into my old self. I'm saying I'm happy to after I said I have no time. But I am happy to, and I think that's where I'm being pushed more into my old self, and to go back over some of these things and some of these prophecies, and to point out in a more clear manner, that which has come to pass, that which I believe is in the process of coming to pass, and so on and so forth. So that can be something that we look toward in the future. If you guys, I mean, you can let me even know if you're interested. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're saying you're like, you don't have to do that. You just comment, save your time. You don't have to do that. All right. So anyway, this week's holiday, the 21st, Laylat al-Bara'a. I've gone to BBC.com to look this up. They had a nice little summary, and it's otherwise known as the Night of Forgiveness. So in English, and it's the 15th night of Sha'ban. It takes place 2 weeks before Ramadan. So you might say, well, I thought you said Ramadan was the next day. Yes. So the sort of like how Easter is almost 2 weeks, right? It's like a week and a half long. And so is Passover. This holiday is too. So it started 2 weeks ago. And so the 21st is like a night where it like culminates. But it still began 2 weeks prior to Ramadan, as it's stated here. Anyway, it is the time when Muslims seek forgiveness. So you see the theme? We started talking about confession. Then we started talking about an apparition of Mary where she encouraged confession. And now we're talking about the Muslim holiday of forgiveness, the same week. Just pointing out again how all these things seem to happen on the same day. And yeah, throw back in the fact that also one of the dates believed to be Muhammad's birthday is also the same day, or the same time period. So anyway, it's about forgiveness, and forgiveness for sins, of course. And Muslims believe that on this night, one's destiny is fixed for the year ahead. So it's like, protect yourself, clear your energy, absolve yourself of your sins, right? Free yourself of them. And then that's the overall energy that your soul will hold for the rest of the year. That's sort of the belief, loosely. On this night, Muslims pray and ask for God's forgiveness, either at the mosque or at home. Muslims may visit the graves of relatives, and the giving to charity is also traditional. So I've also been seeing that a lot in my readings, especially like my dailies. Have been for probably about a month. Anytime it's come up, I've been telling my Patreon subscribers, like, it's very important that if you come into some sort of abundance that you share. That doesn't mean, leave yourself poor of your energy or your money or, whatever it is you've been blessed with. But if someone or something has fed your soul, this is like really, any time is the time to, pay it back or pay it forward, but I just been feeling really, really strongly through the cards. And again, they align with these holidays and with some of the prophetic messages that have been coming true, that this time right now is so very important that we sort of pay our tithes, right? That we give a portion of with what we're blessed to something or someone, again, that has like fed our soul, nurtured our purpose, however you want to look at it. And again, it doesn't have to be money. It can definitely be energy, volunteering your time or something like that too. Anyway, back to this. Although not a religious requirement, in some parts of the world, there are firework displays that mark this night. The wording, Laylat al-Bara'a, is Arabic, with Laytun meaning night and Barat meaning forgiveness. In Persian and in Urdu, it is called Shabe Ba'arat, and is sometimes apparently celebrated by a discussion of forgiveness, which can include other religious people. Muslims, Buddhists, and Jewish contributors have gotten together to discuss religious concepts and the forgiveness of forgiveness and atonement in recognition of this holiday or feast day. Ramadan is actually the name of the Muslim month, not a feast day on its own, right? It's the month of Ramadan. For this, a little bit more about what Ramadan is about, I've gone to ing, like ing.org/Ramadan-information-sheet. Ramadan is considered one of the holiest months of the year for Muslims. In Ramadan, Muslims commemorate the revelation of the Quran, and they fast from food and drink during the sunlit hours as a means of learning self-control, gratitude, and compassion for those less fortunate. Ramadan is a month of intense spiritual rejuvenation with a heightened focus on devotion, during which Muslims spend extra time rereading the Quran and performing special prayers. Those unable to fast, such as pregnant or nursing women, the sick or elderly people, and children, are exempt from fasting. Ramadan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, which is based on a 12-month lunar year of approximately 354 days. So less days than the Gregorian calendar, which is the one we follow, which is 365 days. Because the lunar year is 11 days shorter than the solar year, each lunar month moves 11 days earlier each year. You hear all these 11s. Listen to this. It takes 33, master number 33, solar years for the lunar months to complete a full cycle and to return to the same season. In 2020, the month-long fast of Ramadan begins on April 24th. The month traditionally begins and ends based on the sighting of the first crescent of the new moon. Starting on April 22nd, Muslims throughout the United States and the rest of the world will begin to search the sky for the new crescent, or in some cases, they will follow the predetermined date based on astronomical calculations. During this month, Muslims fast from pre-dawn until sunset as a means to grow in God consciousness and moral excellence. I don't know why I'm getting tongue-tied. I'm just going to skip ahead to explain what God consciousness is. So the ultimate goal of fasting is gaining greater God consciousness. In Arabic, taqwa, T-A-Q-W-A, signifying a state of constant awareness of God. So that's what it's about. Okay. From this awareness, a person should gain discipline, self-restraint, and a greater incentive to do good and to avoid wrong. In commemoration of the revelation of the Quran, Muslims, which is the Muslim holy book, which began during the month of Ramadan, Muslims attempt to read the entire book during Ramadan and to gather nightly at mosques to hold special prayers, during which the entire Quran is recited by the end of the month. So Ramadan actually usually runs into like my birthday and stuff, into June. But I think it ends, wait a minute, because I had read it once. It might be, don't quote me, because this is like off the top of my head. I think it ends May 24th this year, if I remember correctly. But yeah, like that, my birthday is usually like Eid. And it's usually one of these major moons. I think this year it's the third quarter moon. But like last year, it was the new moon in Gemini. And the year before that, it was like the full moon in Scorpio. So it typically is some sort of major moon occurrence. And it all ties into this because, again, they follow the lunar year. All right. So anyway, that's all I have on that. And let's get into what the cards have in store for us. First, the dice. We're beginning with Stay in Bed, 29, which is all about spiritual partnership, and Try Again. That could be tied into the forgiveness, atonement. Maybe you tried to apologize or to mend fences with somebody before, or to reach out to them or something, and it didn't work, is what I'm getting, and you're guided there to try again. This is also a general reading, so that's not necessarily a romantic thing. It could be any and everybody, some sort of business situation, family member, romantic partner, whatever the case. All right, so after shaking them up and putting them down, Spirit says sex. Also, it's 50-50, so like it takes two. One person can't mend fences with another on their own. And the 29 is sitting here facing me. But the what actually came out in the dice is spend money. With the cards, beginning with Major Arcana card 0, the Dreamer. You're starting a new adventure. Run free and take a leap of faith. This is actually the Fool in the traditional tarot, Major Arcana card 0. And that's the only one that's upright. So the Fool is all about a brand new path you never walked before. So trying something in a completely different way, perhaps, or doing something brand new. Last week I talked about, or was it during my week? It might have been during my dailies. From the Patreon readings, I talked about like parlaying some sort of new hobby or thing that you're sort of forced to do because of the way things are into a new hobby or into even a career or just a new way of doing things in your life. So that can be what the brand new path is about. Or if it's in connection to, again, mending fences, apologies, forgiveness, it can be we're starting fresh, we're starting new. And so we're on a different path, together. 29 in spiritual partnership, and it's 50-50. So it's going to take both of us to put in effort to work things out. And that brings us to the 10 of Summer, 10 of Cups. It's time to express your love and appreciation for family, be it relatives or chosen family of close friends. Congratulations may be in order on a happy, fulfilling marriage, as well as raising happy and balanced children. So again, you may want to reach out to somebody or a few somebodies and just tell them you're thinking about them, you're concerned, you thought, whatever. They came up and you wanted to say hi, you wanted to see how they were doing. You wanted to let them know how you were doing. You wanted to apologize. You wanted to forgive them, whatever the case is. The King of Winter or Swords being immediately behind that also upright says that when you do these things, make sure you're communicating effectively. Say what you mean what you say. Like don't beat around the bush. Don't, slip into fear and fail to say I love you if that's what you started out to do. Make sure it comes out. The King of Winter is intelligent, impartial, respected, and unemotional. At this time, it's very important that you communicate clearly. Be objective and unemotional. That means be open to what other people have to say too, right? Being objective. And act as professionally as possible. If you need advice, then seek out the most experienced expert that you can find. So some of us may be looking to some sort of spiritual counselor, or the King of Swords for me is often a lawyer or judge or some sort of like professional capacity type of person. So maybe a tax preparer or attorney or financial advisor or something like that. Crowning the masculine today for the reading is more swords, more potentially King of Swords energy. It is Major Arcana card 1, the Magician, which represents the sign of Gemini. You're ready. You have the resources or the ability to manifest them, and life is magical. This means that we have, the wherewithal to make a focused intention and to remain positive about it and in faith about it and to actually draw it into our lives. That's what the law of attraction is all about, and the Magician is all about. Sometimes, and since I'm being made to mention this, maybe this week will be one of those times. Sometimes the Magician can also be sort of like this person, particularly when I pull the Magician with, let's say, like the devil, can be like a narcissistic personality, somebody that's around you. Also, the Magician can be like a kind of person that's hiding behind a mask also sometimes. So I am getting the first meaning first, that it's all about your manifestation and in keeping with the overall energy, right? This is positive. This is, about abundance and love and family. So that makes sense. But there may be somebody in our midst, or we may be the Magician, somebody who's been wearing a mask, and maybe it's time to come clean or, to, again, seek forgiveness or to extend apologies. Surrounding the masculine is another Major Arcana card. Major Arcana card 7, the Chariot, which represents the sign of Cancer. It's all about movement, moving, potentially. So it could be actual travel and movement. or metaphoric, moving forward, progressing. It's also a major card of victory, being successful. An important achievement, self-discipline and willpower, public recognition. Well, didn't we just read that Ramadan is also all about self-discipline, right? That's what the fast is meant to teach us. Some of you, maybe, I think I'm going to do it. I do it. I tend to do it for the most part, consistently every year. But this year, I think I'm really going to focus on doing the fast, because my normal way of eating had been pretty, what do they call that? Like when I pretty naturally one of intermittent fasting, like where I don't eat breakfast for the most part, and then I find myself like looking for something to eat around 4 or 5 o'clock to start my day. But since this quarantine, like I don't even know what time it is, and I'm just finding myself eating at random times of day, and I don't know if it's because I'm really hungry or because I'm bored and I'm stuck in the house. So I think I'm going to try to use the Ramadan thing, because then you don't really need to know what time it is. It's like sundown. Okay, I can eat now, and the eating time is like between like 11 and like 16 hours. The fasting time rather. So the remaining, 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours, or 8 to 13 hours would be for eating. All right. In any case, I plan to be successful at that. Masculine subconscious is another major arcana card. It is major arcana card 8, Justice. So I mentioned before that the King of Winter, or Swords for me, can be like a lawyer or a judge often. I think for the most part courts are closed, but there could be something happening. Somebody could be getting released from jail with the Chariot, right? Success, the Magician, you brought it about, and justice is coming to you. If it's not as literal as that, right? Justice can mean other things. Justice can just mean like getting your just due finally, things being fair, the universe sort of evening the playing field, evening the scales of balance, so that, everybody's, those that have gotten theirs, sort of, you might be not getting anything right now, and those who, deserve something, some sort of abundance right now, that's who it's going to. So that, again, the playing field is evened out. But for some, they could be literal, some sort of justice, something legal happening. And the first thing I saw was like release from jail. It's like flight here with the Chariot. But there could also be some sort of family court thing happening. Maybe even like inheritance. Maybe successfully getting like a pension or something that had been belonging to somebody. Maybe a Gemini parent. Possibly. Again, the Magician represents the sign of Gemini most directly. The Chariot represents the sign of Cancer most directly. And of course, Major Arcana card Justice most directly represents the sign of Libra. Both Gemini and Libra ruled by Venus, which is currently located in Gemini. So that may be something part of this too. Which reminds me, did I go over what was going on in the celestial system this week? I don't think I did. But off the top of my head, today, the 19th, the sun enters Taurus. And the next thing is the new moon. The new moon should be in the middle of this week too. And that also will be in Taurus. Which takes us back to Ramadan, right? Since Muslims all over the world from the 22nd are going to be looking for the new moon, or the first crescent of the new moon. I think the new moon may be the 24th. All right, so crowning the feminine this week, we have the Three of Winter. So this is also celebratory. Like I said, the Chariot, it's all about success. The Magician, all about manifesting something into your life. Justice, about things, going in your favor. Scares evening out. You're finally getting what you're due. And the feminine is celebratory for some reason. The Three of Water or Cups can also be about reunions for me. So maybe family getting back together. Maybe somebody, again, coming home from jail. Maybe somebody coming home from the hospital with what's been going on these days. Or just coming home in general. Maybe we've been separated and we're able to reunite this week. And so that's what's happening for us. A celebration, a wedding, graduation, or a birth announcement. And the need to have more fun. It's also about, being social. So there are different ways that we can be social and still follow the guidelines of social distancing. Even if that means, doing something virtual. Surrounding the feminine, the Ace of Earth, the inflow of abundance, a promising business venture, and important documents or contracts. So this also goes with maybe, like I said, something legal happening potentially. We got to sign papers, we got to sign contracts. It's something about, some sort of inheritance or a pension or something. And or something, some sort of success, so I think on both sides, we're having this sort of payday, right? Where justice is in your favor. Whether that means, again, whether it's literal and it's talking about legality or things just finally going your way, from you being able to reconnect with people or to having some sort of success that's worth celebrating in your life, abundance coming in, to, again, legal successes and wins in your favor or that of your family or family members. And feminine is about living a life of extremes or seeing things in black and white terms. Consider, for example, whether you're spending too much versus hoarding your wealth, or giving too much emotionally versus building up walls that keep people out. Somebody may get their rent paid or something, whether that's by like another person or the government steps in with some sort of program or assistance, or maybe that's what the stimulus, maybe you're a recipient of the stimulus, and that's what this is representing, and that's going to help you to pay your rent, because I'm definitely getting something about foundations and houses. Alternatively, for somebody, again, this could be some sort of legal situation and assets and inheritance, maybe involving even a home or something. Crowning in general. Another major arcana card. Major arcana card 3, the Empress, which represents the planet Venus. I knew I was feeling her, and I needed to mention that she was the ruler of these two signs before. She's also the ruler of Taurus, right? This Ace of Earth could be her as well. Time to hop into action. Use your natural creativity to bring forth prosperity and success in your life. So for some of us, there's something that we can actively do, right? We can be successful at to help to bring about the abundance to ourselves. We can manifest it, right? Through some sort of creative means. This could be tying in, and again, using your hobbies and parlaying them into an actual job or something like that. Major arcana card, the Empress, again, represents the planet Venus, ruler of the signs of Taurus, Libra, and Gemini. At the root or foundation, it's another 3. Major arcana card 21, the World, which has a fire feel to me. As I've explained before, I can't explain it any further or better than that. It feels like fire. And often when I pull it, some other fire sort of card will come out and it'll be connected to that. More importantly, though, it's about, first and foremost for me, some sort of cycle that we had been in, a relationship, a job, a living condition, something coming to an end. So maybe, again, you had been in a stressful living condition, not knowing how to pay your rent. That's coming to an end, right? It's coming full, and now you're getting this opportunity to pay. It can be something that you've been in, some situation or relationship or something that you've been in for a long time, and you needed to get out of it a long time ago. And you maybe even had opportunities to dig yourself out of that hole before, and through, free will choices, you didn't choose to. Right? You chose something else. So you stayed in the relationship, or you stayed in the living condition, you stayed in the home, you stayed at the job where you had an opportunity to do better. And now the universe is stepping in in saying, okay, now I'm going to ease you into this new, better situation or relationship circumstance that you belong in. So it's sort of like, you know how it's said that what we're meant to experience, or what's meant for us will be ours, right? So we can delay it with our free will choices. But if we're meant to have some sort of abundance in our lives, or to live out a particular situation or circumstance, it's going to come about. At some point, the universe steps in and, puts things its way. Doesn't ask us, doesn't ask us our opinion or what our choice is. Having already given us a choice, to pick what it meant for us all along. And sometimes we don't pick that, so we have to learn the hard way. We have to go through whatever the hardship is in order to get there. The world can also be about something coming full circle, a phase coming to an end, completion, which for me as a Gemini is what Taurus is all about. It's my 12th house of endings. So that may be a message out there for us, for my fellow Geminis, something coming to a close this week for us with the moon entering Taurus. But then that means also a new beginning, right? It's the new moon in Taurus. So it's our house of endings. Something is coming to a close. Something better is starting. And at the heart of the matter, the 7 of autumn. Why is something starting, or why are we getting abundance, or why are we being successful? Because we had previously done what we needed to do in order for that to happen. The planning, resources, and efforts that you've invested in your dream will reap great rewards. In the meantime, have patience and meditate on your next steps. So further clarify all of these. We've already mixed up the cards, right, on camera. So now we're just going to lay additional ones. So further clarifying, the magician for the masculine here is the 8 of autumn or pentacles. So he's like reaping what he's sown. Now we're going to have the 8 of pentacles crossing the 7 of pentacles in terms of clarifying the magician, which is all about manifestation. So it's saying the masculine bringing something into his life, again, having done largely what he needed to do in order to bring it to his life prior. So he set the stage for it, and he did the work. And so now he's reaping what he's sown. That's from where this success is coming. Clarifying the chariot is the chariot. Boom. You can successfully balance various or opposing energies at once through determination and focus. You've earned the rewards and recognition that you're receiving. What did I just say here? He's getting it because he did the work already. So he's earned and he's successfully manifested this abundance that he's getting and this success that he's getting. And now they're doubling down on it, right? Chariot atop chariot. Clarifying Major Arcana card 8, Justice, is Major Arcana card 14, Balance or Temperance, which represents what? The planet Jupiter, ruler of what? The sign of Sagittarius. There's the fire that I spoke of. I said some other major fire tends to come out connected to the world. So what does this mean for the masculine in relation to the world? Justice, again, finally, he was stuck in some sort of situation or circumstance or whatever. I'm saying stuck, but he's lived in it. And it could be years, right? Years, like I knew I should have left that relationship a long time ago. I've said to myself, I wanted to leave. I wanted to divorce. I wanted to break up, whatever it was. And I didn't. I stayed there. And now the universe has forced something to happen where it's coming apart. So that's like it's delayed justice coming in. Now, what is temperance about in relation to justice? Temperance is about negotiation. So this could be, again, it could be an actual legal situation where you negotiated terms of something, or it could be work, long time coming. You've been due a raise, you've been due some sort of success, promotion, and now there's negotiations going into it because you're getting additional pay or you're getting additional recognition or something. Maybe you're an essential worker, right? So you're getting your just due. You're getting the PPE you need if you're a healthcare provider. You've been shorted before. All those things. By merging varying points of view, you can now generate an extraordinary new idea. Two people can put their heads together. Remember, like it's 50-50, like the dice said. Or two people can come together and agree to fix something, to forgive one another, to apologize to each other. Both. We're mending fences, all of those things. Like, you know, you're black and I'm white. How can we come together? Oh, we can be striped. There's the new idea. It's that sort of thing. And we can figure out how to work together. So again, by merging varying points of view, you can generate an extraordinary new idea, compromise with others to collaborate to discover a better solution. So that's how we're working things out. And maybe we're having some sort of amicable split from a roommate, from a romantic partner, maybe even a spouse or something like that, because we figured out how to work it out in a reasonable way. From a family member, you know, Mom, I've decided it's time for me to move. And, you know, this could be somebody talking to their mother. The Empress is like mother. Or, you know, my girlfriend's pregnant, so we're going to go start our own thing. You've already raised me to teach me how to do this. So now we're going to move. I'm getting out of the living situation that I've been in with you. Something like that. Somebody may experience. For the feminine, crowning and clarifying the 3 of water or cups is the 5 of spring. Occasionally, you may experience clashes with others. If you decide the matter is worth your energy, then do what you can to minimize the conflict without sacrificing your beliefs. So the 5 of spring is often, all right, if it's not about, for me, the way I tend to read it, first of all, let me point out, we've got 2 5s of spring or wands or fire here, mirroring one another. Major Arcana card 14, balance, which 14 equals 5. And again, it is fire. It's Jupiter, Sagittarius. And it's here mirroring this 5 of spring, which is not Major Arcana, but a 5 of spring of fire nonetheless. When this card shows up, it tends to be, if it's not about like you being conflicted with yourself, right, having a conflict, then it's most often close friends and or family with which you have some sort of disagreement or conflict, or something going on at work, competition. And that may be what it is. So you, again, being successful, you're chosen for the promotion. You're chosen for the work at home job. You're chosen to get your whole paycheck, as opposed to having a cut or something like that. And that's what's celebratory. That's what the increase is. And that's what helps you to maybe pay your rent. I'm just giving you an example. Some sort of competition at work. So the 5 of Wands is not, like, people look at it and get afraid of it. For me, it's not always a bad card. Sometimes it just represents like Mars energy, right? Mars, the planet of action and aggression, to be a go-getter and going after what you want, which in this case is abundance. Surrounding the feminine, atop the Ace of Earth is the 3 of air or swords. Great sadness. Take time to heal. There's a need to forgive yourself and others. So for some, not all, I mean, this could be just clarifying for one person, even though I'm doing this whole reading for everybody. Because remember I said before, this could be some sort of inheritance. You know, I did it without, or I tried to do it without saying, you know, somebody could have passed away in order for you to be getting this inheritance, for you to be coming into these assets or abundance. But for somebody, I think that is the case. For others, this is about just healing of your finances. And we have these, you know, these 3s crossing each other. One, which is about an end of a cycle, right? So maybe you had pain and difficulty in your finances or in your abundance, and that's coming to an end. Why is it coming to an end? Because now you're getting the ability to create abundance around yourself. And for others, again, I think you're coming into some sort of abundance that may be as a result of somebody else having left it behind for you. Now, This can also be speaking to the mending offenses that I talked about. So the apologies and the forgiveness and things. This could be fighting with family, conflict with somebody close to you, close friends and or family that you love, and a new beginning in that area. So moving beyond this pain that had been between you. And that would be another reason why it's crossing the world, which again, it signifies that that's coming to an end. So clarifying the Four of Autumn or Four of Pentacles is the Queen of Winter or Swords. So now we have her mirroring the Magician. Could very well be a direct air sign involved, maybe specifically a Gemini, although the Queen of Swords most directly relates to the sign of Aquarius. Can also be a Libra, of course. All your life experiences have prepared you for this moment of truth. It's time to declutter your home, to clear away situations that aren't working for you anymore, and to disengage from people who create more drama than happiness. So the Queen of Swords again, or Winter, again, can be a direct air sign, a Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, or someone likened to those traits or attributes. It can actually be somebody in your life. Being a court card, they tends to represent an actual person. This person could be with whom you had the conflict in your family. We could have an air sign making up with a fire sign, or who's had conflict with a family member that's a fire sign. We also have this, again, this mother figure that's potentially a Gemini, but not necessarily, a Taurus, a Libra, also very, very possible. But here's the fire energy again. So, I mean, it could be anybody, but could definitely be family members, and maybe a female family member with whom you've had a problem. A mother figure, an older sister. So siblings fighting, a sister and a brother. I don't know why I felt a sister and a brother as opposed to a sister and a sister or something like that. But yeah, sister and a brother is the first thing that came to me. And they may make up this week. Maybe because of the pain and the loss of what's going on at large around the world, sort of opens their eyes to it's time to express forgiveness and love and appreciation for family, to bring us back to our overall energy of the Ten of Cups. And so they make up this week. Or they have a nice, mending offenses. They call a truce or something like that. Right? Some of these things have been going on so long. And maybe that's why the world is showing up here. Finally an end to that. Maybe it's like, it's what mommy would want, right? Would want for us to do this. Further clarifying Major Arcana card 3, the Empress is another 3, but it is Major Arcana card 12, Awakening, or the Hangman, which represents the sign of Pisces. Look at things from a different perspective. You're at a temporary standstill. It's important to be yourself. So what does that mean? Well, we're all at a temporary standstill, right, with the quarantine. So it's like, in the meantime, you have an opportunity to think and to consider. And maybe that's what the eye opener is. And you're able to see other people's perspectives, or you're able to see a new perspective for yourself and to figure out how to move forward. Directly as it relates to the Empress, this can be, again, how you figure out, hey, I like sewing. I can make masks. I can sell them at a reasonable price, not try to gouge or rip anybody off. But at the same time, I'm doing a service because I'm helping people to protect themselves. So that's like taking some sort of creative means and turning it into a job. In terms of what it's crossing here, it's another one of these 3s. And so again, I think there was some sort of party of 3 family members, problem, conflict, and this is helping you to see other people's points of view and to work it out in terms of job and you being up for the promotion and having to compete against other people. I think this is showing you like it's okay to compete, right? That's not a bad word. or necessarily a bad thing. And you've put the reason that you're even in line to compete is because you've previously done what you needed to do. So like you've earned this spot and you need to be going for it. Clarifying Major Arcana card 21, the world at the root or foundation is the King of Summer. Very interesting. He is warm-hearted, devoted, loving, and faithful. A trustworthy person or relationship enters your life. You may receive wise and compassionate advice from someone who speaks directly from the heart. The King of Summer is a Pisces. Now we have this Pisces energy at the root and the crown. Cancer, like the two chariots it's crossing, or a Scorpio, or someone likened to those traits or attributes. And now we've ended up with the Queen of Winter, or Queen of Swords, sitting next to the King of Summer or King of Cups. And I've been seeing a reuniting between the two of them for like a month now, at least a month. I think it's probably more like 2 months. The past several weeks I've been saying, oh, air and water, fire and earth, right? Over and over and over again. But here we have the characters showing up. The King of Cups, the Queen of Swords. So they could be mending fences too in their relationships, coming to some sort of negotiation. Maybe literally one is black and one is white, and so they couldn't get their relationship to come together before. That was painful, but they're resolving that conflict by deciding to, collaborate and to come together to form stripes or polka dots, or to blend somehow together, right? To make brown or gray, which is nice. And that could be, doesn't have to be race, that could be anything. It could be an age difference, ideology, some sort of belief system. We disagreed and we couldn't figure out how to respect each other's perspectives. And now we can. Because now maybe we're realizing with what's going on in the world, life is short, let's stop this foolishness. Very, very possible. Masculine definitely wanting to move on with two chariots showing up here in his surrounding energy. At the heart of the matter, atop the Seven of Autumn or Pentacles, clarifying the Seven of Pentacles, is the Four of Summer or Cups. So this is about not missing the opportunities that are availed to you because you've earned them, because you deserve them. So now things are coming your way because you brought it towards yourself, and it could pass you by potentially. Right? You could miss an opportunity to make up with somebody, to heal a relationship, to further yourself in your work or your job, to create a new beginning for yourself out of your own, hobbies, growing into something new that could, help the world. You got to be paying attention to the messages that are coming to you this week. Your responsibilities may distract you from noticing all the gifts that God is presenting to you. Be open to investigating opportunities that come your way. So further to that, some advice here for the masculine is another 7, the 7 of spring. Be assertive, believe in yourself, and don't let anyone take away your personal power. Trust that your inner guidance is true and follow it completely. So when you get those ding, 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 those ideas of I need to be moving or I need to be moving on, I need to move past this, I need to forgive, I need to apologize, I need to literally pick up house and move somewhere else. Don't ignore those things that are coming to you. Consider the plan, right? Try to think it through and see if it actually works. And if you decide that it does, don't let anybody talk you out of it and tell you that it doesn't. And feminine for us, similarly to the heart of the matter here, it's the 5 of Summer or Cups. So this is also potentially about missing an opportunity, or being too caught up in what you don't have to see what you do, right? It's an energy of pessimism. It represents pessimism and doubt and disappointment. But a lot of times it's you bringing that energy upon yourself by not, thinking positively. And showing appreciation for what you do and counting your blessings and things. Focus upon the fact that God loves you. and always has their highest of intentions for you. A positive outlook makes it easier to recover from life's little difficulties, like the Three of Air Swords that you may have had to deal with, so that you can move onward and upward. Move, right? We have these two chariots mirroring this, so you can move past it if you think positive and move in a positive direction. Hope you guys have enjoyed the weekly general reading. I will be back shortly. I think I'm going to try to post them as closely together as possible this week with the love reading. I normally leave like some space, give people a chance to watch the general before I put the love on you. But I think that I'm doing a little test actually with YouTube's funky ass algorithm. Because I think that when I put more videos at the same time is when I get more views. And when I put up sporadic videos is when I get less, I think. So I'm going to try it. Anyway, I know I went on in the beginning about how much I have to do, but if you'd like your own private reading, I am still accepting orders. I am still doing them. They're just not as quickly as I used to do. Like I used to say, by the next Saturday, you know, I'm posting all my readings. I cannot make that promise anymore. But I am still accepting orders. Of course, with the healing, I can do those more readily, like on the spot. And so if you need that, definitely contact me. And, you know, merchandise, all that stuff is, again, more readily. We can just get that out. Anything else I can't think of, friends on social media, following each other, all that kind of stuff. Information for everything that I do or have to offer will be in the description box below. Thank you. Namaste.